scramble. They try to brawl it out for that early game.
Yeah. And the thing is, when we were talking about scaling, some of the early game here, some of the heroes that are good in the early game can also be scaling. It's just that in the mid game they're really, really bad. Like I'm talking about assassins here. For example, in the first 2 minutes of the game, Hayabusa and Ling, very strong. Roger as well, in the jungle.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
if you use them, they snowball off on it. But come the mid game, when everything is, when you needed to farm up, when the enemy roamers have their first item up, it kind of feels like you cannot kill anyone anymore. You need more items. So it's like you have to solve the mid game now. You have good scaling because you're a jungler, assassin jungler, and you have your gold laner. But in the mid game, you have to kind of find out where you have to be farming. Do you contest the turtle against a utility jungler? Do you give up the first lord
Yeah.
just to secure your buffs or something like that? So, yes, scaling is rewarded in the patch right now, but I think it's more about like how do you solve the mid game problem where you need to farm.
I know I'm just a host here, but if I can put my 2 cents here, I feel like quite a few assassins that have a strong power spike when they get 2 kills before 4 minutes. I feel like they look pretty good because we've
That's right.
seen a Hayabusa, the changes that the Hayabusa has,
Yeah.
makes it so that his farming speed is the same pace as a Nolan. And if you can farm the same speed as a Nolan, that's insane. I've seen Hayabusa go first item. I said, but at least you want to go for the fights.
Now, when the game started, I was actually surprised that Ogun was already level 4, so he probably might have stolen some of the buffs. Was able to catch a first minute. Maybe he was able to steal some of the green buffs, you know. But then, there are so many problems with the Lui that this presented to XYG. That's why I feel like even when the Lui was nerfed against a top tier team like Falcon CP brand that know exactly how MLBB operates, it's very difficult. Like they even attempted for the play,
Yeah.
the cross, like it's not even a cross map, it's outside of the map play where you teleport in with the implosion already so that you'll be able to just initiate so quickly. There was a TP play coming up from Few where he was able to get into that bush up top. I call it the sandwich bush. And they were able to eventually sandwich the Moskov into getting the kill in the early stages. So I think at this point in the metagame, let's not give the lead to a team like Red.
I mean, like, what do you folks think here? Because I feel like in terms of the tempo, XYG was not ready for that tempo, because we got to remember one thing that happened during the game is that they got the Lord, and then XYG is like, oh, they got the Lord. And then immediately just behind them, AP Brain just goes in, and then they get the kill. So do you think the tempo, XYG was just not ready for it?
I think definitely, right? All the way from the draft, it definitely feels like XYG, they had their expectations as well as to how they could actually hold off in the early game, but the execution was a bit off. Again, they went on for the Vexana, the Edith, they needed to go for a little bit of poke at least, so even if the neutral objective did go in favor of Falcon City from the start, they could try to punish them a bit more, it feels. They were super reactive, too reactive, and because they were reactive, they were, I wouldn't even say it was reactive. No, I would say they were just too passive. Because like you said, even the pace of that proactiveness coming in from the top, granted, 3G as a reactive team, you could actually catch on to that. But here, they just waited for the plays to happen, and it happened, and they were ready.
Speaking of the Nolan as well as the Moscow with one team, surely you're going to be having a lot of problems with it worked before, but usually it is paired up with a very active duo. So Edith, West of Vexana, although it's very strong when it comes to like performing your circle or your box in a team fight setting, and a front attack is very strong. But when it comes to making the plays, Edith is slower than most. And you also have the Vexana just sits back very definitely. So
really has to do well, but either way, thank you very
well
much, gentlemen, for your service here during the
you have
draft.
Nolan
But now,
and the
starting
farm
the second match of the day, we're
and
passing it over to our
where
casters.
the disconnect comes from XYG. I feel like it's difficult to pull that off. It has been successful before, but when you're facing up against Louis with the Tiger that's very active, and then you have